When new movies come into the world, they no longer belong to the studios. They belong to all of us. And that means we can speculate about all kinds of hidden messages and unsaid meanings lurking behind the events on screen. Here are some of the most unusual and mind-blowing fan theories that have ever been discussed online. After hearing them, you probably won't be able to see these movies in the same way again, because you'll be wearing a tinfoil hat. Heath Ledger's Joker is a war veteran. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in 2008's The Dark Knight is difficult to forget, having earned him a posthumous Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. But there might be more to his backstory than we realize. One of the most popular fan theories suggests that the Joker is an Iraq war veteran. It explains his facial scarring and his tortured psyche, plus his ability to put tactical plans into operation and his familiarity with explosives and firearms. What's more, he mentions his disgust at people's lack of attention for a truckload of soldiers getting blown up in one conversation with Harvey Dent. Is the Joker a victim of PTSD, or just an evil genius with a clown fetish? Let's just say both and move on. Hogwarts is all in Harry Potter's head. Saying a movie, or in this case a series of 8 movies, is all inside someone's head is a bit of a cop-out, and you could apply that theory to just about every film ever made. But stick with us here. The Harry Potter films lend themselves to this theory more than most, because the titular character starts off alone, friendless, oppressed, and locked inside a cupboard under the stairs. With that in mind, why wouldn't he want to invent a magical alternate reality where he's actually the most important person in the world? Hogwarts, Hermione, Dumbledore? Is everything a figment of Harry's imagination, designed to help him cope with his suffering at the hands of the Dursleys? That would certainly explain why no one at Hogwarts calls Child Protective Services on the Dursleys. You know, since they've made him live in a closet. James Bond is a codename, not a person. Quite how the world of James Bond works isn't particularly clear, because it seems as though we're expected to assume all these adventures are happening to the same guy, even as the years pass around him. George Lazenby's famous quip beyond the fourth wall,
"This never happened to the other fella,"
has been the only nod the filmmakers have made to the fact that James Bond keeps regenerating Doctor Who style. What about this? What if James Bond isn't an actual spy at all, but rather a codename passed down from agent to agent? It seems to work for M and Q, so why wouldn't it work for James Bond himself? It's a compelling argument when you start to think about it. Learning to like the same kind of martini must be covered during orientation. Childs is the Thing. At the end of John Carpenter's 1982 classic The Thing, MacReady, played by Kurt Russell, and Childs, played by Keith David, sit opposite each other in the snow, waiting for death, with neither of them knowing whether the other is, in fact, the shape-shifting alien they've been hunting all along. Or maybe they do know. One fan theory, of many, suggests that the drink MacReady offers to Childs is actually one of the Molotov cocktails used earlier in the movie. Since Childs doesn't react to chucking down the gasoline, this proves he is the Thing, and it adds an even bleaker perspective onto the end of what is already a pretty dark movie. Doc Brown is suicidal. In Back to the Future, we see Dr. Emmett Brown standing in the path of a speeding DeLorean, his life only saved by the fact it jumps back in time as he watches. Could it be that the Doc's primary goal was to get himself killed, and that's why he's been so focused in his experiments? Sure, there are easier ways to check out and shuffle off the mortal coil, but it actually gives the film a warmer glow in the end. Doc, a man who was previously an aging outsider descending into madness with no family and few friends, discovers that there is a reason to live after all. And that reason is potentially destroying the universe by driving a DeLorean-shaped hole in the space-time continuum. Pixar's shared universe. On the surface, Pixar movies might not seem to have much in common beyond a studio logo and cutting-edge CGI, but if you stop and think about it, really think about it, the idea that every single one of these characters inhabits the same universe starts to make a lot of sense. It's all summed up in The Pixar Theory, a widely read essay posted by John Negroni, that arranges every Pixar movie in chronological order and argues at the existence of a time loop created by Boo in Monsters, Inc., who's also the witch in Brave. It probably sounds kind of crazy out of context, but once you dive down this rabbit hole, there's no going back. Next thing you know, someone will tell you that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park aren't really dinosaurs. Oh wait. Jurassic Park's dinosaurs aren't real. Okay, the Jurassic Park dinosaurs are cool, but they differ from real-life dinos in a number of ways. Some of which have been explained away by the park's overlord, John Hammond, who said he arranged to have the extinct creature's DNA spliced with genetic material from frogs. But what if Hammond was performing a different kind of experiment? Specifically, what if there wasn't ever any dinosaur DNA involved, and the whole thing was just a cover for a Dr. Moreau-style lab setup to create elaborate fakes? Same blockbuster thrills, but with an added sinister undertone, especially when you consider that the crazy old freak invited his grandchildren to his island of genetic horrors. Sending a car with cash in it is always a good gift option, Grandpa. Alien and Firefly take place in the same universe. Joss Whedon didn't have the greatest time writing Alien Resurrection, and the end product definitely doesn't rank among the best love entries in the series. But he wasn't totally ready to wash his hands of the franchise after the project ended, as proven by a cool blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment in the pilot episode of his space western, Firefly. During the show, main character Malcolm Mal Reynolds shoots down an enemy ship, and in the gun's viewfinder, you can glimpse the logo of the Weyland-Yutani Company, the same conglomerate that causes so many problems in the Alien movies. Firefly took place years after the events of the Alien trilogy were set, so it would have been relatively easy, in theory, for Whedon to keep tying them together over time. If only Firefly had lasted more than 14 episodes in one movie. E.T. is a Jedi. In E.T., there's a cool little nod to Star Wars during the trick-or-treating scene, where our long-necked alien buddy bumps into a kid dressed as Yoda and seems to recognize him. Decades later, E.T. got his own brief shout-out during the Star Wars prequels, when the little guy and a few of his cousins make a cameo during one of those interminable galactic Senate meetings. The Star Wars saga takes place long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, so who's to say E.T. didn't really know Yoda, and was actually a Jedi using the Force to make Elliot's bike fly? On the other hand, most Jedi don't typically run around naked, so maybe not. The Rock is a secret James Bond movie. As countless spy movies have shown us, it isn't uncommon for the government to cut its assets loose when they've outlived their usefulness. That fate seems to befall James Mason, Sean Connery's character in The Rock. He's designed as a highly trained ex-intelligence officer who ended up being locked away and officially ceasing to exist. Of course, since he's played by Connery, James Mason looks and sounds a lot like James Bond. Casting coincidence, or a brilliant bit of B-movie storytelling? And does that make Nicolas Cage Miss Moneypenny or what? Now before we go, here's a bonus, 2 fan theories that actually turned out to be true. Quentin Tarantino's cinematic universes. Quentin Tarantino's movies are so richly detailed and have such a distinctive style that they can feel like a world unto themselves. And according to one impressively complex theory, that's exactly what they are. The ways in which Tarantino's films intertwine with one another are far too numerous to get into here, but suffice it to say there are lots of connections between the characters. Dedicated fans couldn't help but notice and formulate a theory that all the connections are more than sly nods and Easter eggs. Best of all, Tarantino himself has confirmed that they're right. According to Tarantino, he actually views his creations as inhabiting 2 universes, one in the real world and a fictional one inside it. And as he's put it, when the characters in Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction go to the movies, they're watching Kill Bill and From Dusk Till Dawn. So does that mean that Django could have ended up as one of the Hateful Eight if he'd stumbled into the right haberdashery? Of course, that's not the only director who confirmed a fan theory. The next one proves that if you have just a little faith, you'll be rewarded. RoboCop is Jesus. A righteous man is cut down by evildoers in the prime of his life, only to rise again and embark on a mission to cleanse the world of sin. Sounds like our old pal Jesus, right? Only it's also, if you turn your head and squint a little, the story of RoboCop. Die-hard fans have pointed out a number of similarities between the 80s action classic and the New Testament, including a shot that actually makes it look a little like RoboCop is walking on water. According to director Paul Verhoeven, the correlations are no accident. Now that you know, the only appropriate way to celebrate your next year's Easter Sunday is with a customary viewing of RoboCop over ham, chocolate eggs, and jars of strained carrots. Peace be with you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more videos like the one you just saw, and leave us a comment to tell us what crazy fan theories you think should have made the list.